Well, a very good morning, Stanley and Fred in the Molly. Today we take you to Kusumek village here in Kericho County, where we meet a dedicated poultry farmer who has revolutionized her community with farming practices. This farmer here has made a significant strides, becoming a beacon of progress and inspiration to many farmers.
Thank you so much. My name is Aranita Biegon. Na hapa tuko kwa our chicken or poultry farm, where we specialize on poultry and basically layers. Tuna haswa tumeweza kushughulikia ama kuangalia tu upande wa mayai. Kwa hivyo kwa farm yetu tuko na capacity at 10,000 chickens and especially layers. Now we are also using what we call battery cage system kwa upande wa our farming practices. We've since the beginning, tulianza around 2017. It has been a journey up to date, and there is a lot that we've learned to be able to raise especially layers and to be able to stay in the market, especially to sell eggs for this long time. So welcome to our farm, and you'll be able to learn more. I think the challenges that I would mention being a poultry farmer for so many years has been the cost of feeds. That is a big thing when it comes to feeding the chickens. And as a farmer, along the way, we've learned to make our own feeds, since that was the way out to be able to break even and to make something or to get something out of it as a business. So feed making has been our core thing, because that is what we realized was taking much of our earnings from the poultry or from the layers. Another challenge that sometimes we get could be outbreaks, diseases. But in our farm, when you come in, you realize that we are very keen on biosecurity measures, meaning that there is a lot in terms of cleanliness, in terms of disinfecting your feed. So those are some of the things as a farmer I've been able to learn to be able to maintain and to be able to take care of our business without so much challenges.
Why did you decide to start poultry farming within this region?
Thank you so much. Being in a region in Kericho and Bureti, where many people go into tea farming, when I sat down and did calculations on the profitability part of it and looking into the space that for you to break even in tea farming, I needed to have more than 5 acres to be able to make money. And when I sat down and looked at poultry farming, and specifically looking at layers, I realized that there was a market that many people had not tapped into, and especially in terms of the space it takes. When you come to my farm, you realize it takes less than, this is about a 0.01 whatever of an acre. And I'm able to, to keep almost 10,000 chickens. So when I looked at that, I realized I could still earn an income from selling eggs the same way someone would have so many acres of tea trying to get the same thing. So for me, I wanted to diversify away from, all of us doing tea farming or dairy, and also tapping into the market, because when you look at Kericho, most of the suppliers of eggs are coming from Uganda. So I looked at it, I did my research and realized that we did not have enough layers of poultry farmers within Kericho, and I wanted to tap into that market.
Yes, you mentioned that you usually manufacture the feeds, right?
Yes.
How do you really ensure that success?
So we started our feed manufacturing around 4 or 5 years ago, and our main focus was how do we cut the cost of production. And when we looked at raw materials that we needed to, to be able to make our own feed, it was also another challenge because 3-4 years ago you could not find maize in a good price even in this country. And again, it took us back to going to Uganda to buy some of the raw materials. But I want to specifically mention today, or in this time, that with the introduction of affordable fertilizers, we have so much in country right now that we're able to get enough maize that we need, because when you're doing the raw materials, the bigger portion of the feed making goes into the maize, the whole maize, and sometimes we need some of the proportions of things that we use. So I would say that the reason why or how we are able to make it today is because we are having enough supply of maize. We are still working on seeing if we can get yellow maize, though we don't have much of it in Kenya, but we are using a lot of maize currently that our farmers have been able to plant the past year because of affordable fertilizers that we have, thanks to the President William Ruto for giving that opportunity to farmers to be able to grow more.
And you mentioned that you have 10,000 layers, right? How do you ensure the maintenance?
Thank you so much. With the battery cage system that we are using, it makes it so easy in terms of management, because when they are in their cages, they're able to feed, they're able to drink water from the cages, and there's no much movement, and they don't need a lot of labor or a lot of people working in the farm. So using a battery cage system for us has allowed us to cut costs even in terms of the manpower that we need. And it's also easy to identify any challenges when they're in a battery cage system. So we've, as a farmer, I've actually, embraced the use of battery cage system because of the easy management and easy and cheaper labor cost that it takes to man such a farm. We have so many units of cages in this row, where each unit has a capacity of 160 chickens. So this row, for example, has so many of them, so many units. And when you look at this cage, the way it is designed, we have a feeding trough. This is where they're able to feed. This is where we keep or put their feed. And this is a drinking pipe. So you see the red nipples. This is where they have to click to get their water. So they get their water right there. They are able to also lay right here, and when they lay, you're able to collect our eggs just right here. So the same position they're in is where they're able to lay, they're able to eat and drink and sleep when they're ready to sleep. So the entire, the cages is a full, it's all enclosed. You don't find a chicken going elsewhere to find a place to lay. This is their place, their position where they're able to get everything. And you just manage and make sure when it gets to feeding time, they have their feed. They have water throughout the day. They are able to drink water throughout the day. And when it gets to laying, when it's time to collect, we just come and collect the eggs on the sides. And you don't have to interfere with the chickens or anything. So it's a complete system that can accommodate everything that you need in your laying or in your chicken coop.
And in this battery cage, you say this one, right?
Yes.
Does it damage the eggs, or do you normally find some eggs which is already damaged?
Yeah, in some instances you will find damaged eggs, but rarely do you find damage. The way that
what
the
might
system,
be the cause?
if there are any damaged eggs, either the shell was weak So sometimes you have to boost the feed by adding some contents on to make their shells more stronger. So we use what we call DCP to just strengthen the feed if you realize that there are challenges with the shell. Otherwise, if the feed has been done in a wall, in a complete process, you rarely find any broken eggs. Yes.
So how long will they take since the first day to grow?
So from the beginning, when a chicken is hatched, it takes 5 months for them to lay. So we have this whole group right here they are 4 months old. They have not even started laying. So these ones are already laying. They have laid for 5 months. But a whole system for a chicken, they lay for 24 months. So you have 2 years for them laying and 5 months that you have to raise them before they lay. So it's about I'll do around 29 months. That's a lifespan that you still need a chicken. Otherwise, when they're beyond 2 years laying, you find that the production comes down. Out of maybe 1,000 chickens, you might find even collecting 200 eggs because they're already over the period that they're supposed to lay. Yes.
So that is when you will know that it's no longer laying.
Yes.
Is when they have already grown up.
Yes. Now what we normally do is for every line we have captured, or we know the dates when they came in. So we have a card that we tag and say the start date is this date, diminishing date is this date, so that it can always tell you that are they almost done with laying. Then if they're done with laying, you start preparing to take them out, to sell them for, we call them X layers because they're no longer laying, and bring a new group. So it's just a whole process that you have to have records to be able to know at what point are they. And also we do our daily data recording. Like when we collect eggs today, we expect to collect over 8,000 eggs. If we are not getting 8,000 eggs, that is around 80%, we ask ourselves, what is happening? Is there a challenge? So you can always tell on a daily basis if there is a problem in your farm because of your records that tells you production was way below the target. So we have a target that we know if we are doing well, we're supposed to hit this number. If it comes down, then it questions what is wrong in the farm. Yes.
Right, you talk about now the pipes.
Yeah.
These are drinking nipples, right?
Yes.
Do you mix with vaccine or any kind of medicine?
No, unless you want to introduce anything, any boosters. If you realize there's a challenge or the chickens are having issues, you can always mix any vaccine or any medicine with water. Otherwise, we finish vaccination of the young chicks by the 3rd month. So like these ones, they're already done with their vaccinations. There is no more, there is nothing else we're giving them until, unless there is something that we want to introduce.
Yes.
So that is what happens. For the young chicks, for the first day, there's a vaccination needed. You do 7 days until when they finish the 3rd month, you are complete with your vaccination. So they only do clean water, unless you want, there's an outbreak that you need to give them either some antibiotics. We do it through water.
And when we talk about the feeds, what kind of feeds do you usually use to feed them?
So we with the combination of what we make, the most important thing, and that's what we've done with curry, is that we make sure that first of all we look at the quality of the feed, because for a long time when we were buying feeds,
yes,
we could always sample the feeds in the market and take to curry to be able to analyze and see which of these many suppliers are giving us quality feeds. And when we realize that sometimes you buy feeds from the shops that are not even meeting the contents, the protein contents and vitamins that you need, that's when we said we are doing our own feed. So sometimes we substitute with feeds from other suppliers when we don't have our feeds ready, but we've always tried to feed from our own meal, what we make for them. So we just do our mixture and give them the meal that they need.
Well, and as we move, what kind of diseases do you normally experience? Do these chickens normally experience?
I would speak on behalf of other farmers.
Yes.
Because my case has been different when we stick to taking care of biosecurity measures, making sure that all the employees that work in the farm, first of all, they wash their hands before doing anything in our farm. We disinfect the feet before doing anything in the farm. I will not tell you that I've had any case for the longest time. But most of the challenges that poultry farmers face out there would be an outbreak of coccidiosis. You'll find, the chickens are starting to diarrhea. Little by little, they start dying, and it's an airborne thing. So eventually, the whole flock will have challenges. So what we've stick to in our farm is make sure you don't skip any vaccination schedule. So there is a schedule that we follow.
Like how long?
It goes for, like, when these ones who have said these are 4 months old. When they came in at 1 day old, after 5 days we gave them a vaccination against there is normally a different category of what you give them.
Yes.
So when we follow that schedule, what we've learned as a farm is that you rarely find anything after that, because already your chickens are vaccinated against any outbreak. And also, the reason why you find our farm is enclosed, it's not in an open space, is to also avoid having other farmers' chickens walking into our farm and being able to spread whatever diseases they might have. So this has been a more secure place for the chickens, whereby they're not able to get exposed to any diseases that could have been in the neighborhood, for example. Yes.
And let's now talk about the market. Do you
Yes.
have the ready market for all these eggs?
Oh, yes.
And how many eggs do you collect per day?
So the good thing with us is when we manage to survive, especially I would refer it back to the Corona time, where most farmers closed their farms. Most poultry farmers were not able to manage that time, and they pull out of business. And when we managed to pull through, what I would say today is that we have market for our eggs. As much as we're still getting other people coming in, even from Uganda, to sell their eggs in Kenya, and especially in Kericho, we have been able to sell our eggs because what differentiates us with other sellers has been the quality. When you don't give your chickens good quality feed, when you even eat that egg, you can realize there's a different taste. So what I would say today, what has sticked with us and why most customers are still buying, I have a customer who's been buying from us for the last 4 years. If you ask him why you keep going to the same farm, it's the quality of the eggs. So that is number one, that I would say that we've not lost touch and we've not lost customers because of our eggs. And if you look at the size of our eggs, it is also something that most of the bakeries, people who do bakery, would want the size of our eggs, because these are good enough for what they're doing. They're able to meet the contents of whatever mixture they're doing in their cake business. So those are some of the customers that have stayed with us for long, because when you come to our farm, you rarely find small size of eggs, and that is what most businesses would do. We are able also to reach out to Kisii. We have customers who've bought from us from 2019, 2020, all the way they come from Kisii to buy from us. So those are some of the customers that we've worked with them for a long time, and it's because we are able to also do as wholesale prices. So when you come to our farm, you get eggs at a wholesale price that you can sell, you go sell as retail. So it has also enabled us to be able to supply as much as you want in a day. In a day, we collect around 8,000 eggs. So it's enough to be able to to meet the demand that we have in Kericho and spill over to Kisii County.
And do you have the local customers?
Yes, we do a lot of local customers. We have walk-ins. We have a shop right in our farm that if you come and you want eggs just to eat in your home, you are able to buy 1 or 2 or how many pieces you want. So we also do that in our farm. Maybe something I'll just mention that would be something to look into as a country. and especially as a government in Kericho, is where we get our all-day chicks. And especially, I've said we specialize on layers. We buy our chicks from Kenchick company. Kenchick have perfected the art of producing only layers if you want layers. If you want broilers, you are able to get broilers. The challenge that we are having today with Kenchick company has been the slow or the high demand and not being able to meet the demand of the customers. For example, I ordered for 1,000 chicks, one day old chicks, 1,000 pieces, and I had to wait for 5 months to be able for them to deliver. And if you are in a business where you have to wait for 5 months for a supplier to deliver, and then come and wait for another 5 months for them to lay, that is 1 year. That means there is a challenge, which I know Kenchick has tried to do their best for so long, but we need to have others coming up so that we can have many other providers or many other service providers, and especially people who can specialize on layers or broilers. The reason why you will ask me why not buy from so many companies that are selling today is because if I walk into any other company and buy chicks, if I want layers and I've bought 1,000, out of that 1,000, I might get 500 to be cocks and 500 to be laying. And yet my business is only layers. So I think it is a challenge that as a leader also, we're looking into how do we tap in that, because I'm receiving a lot of calls from farmers asking me where else can we go to be able to buy layers, specific layers, like what Kenchick has done for so many years. That is a challenge I will put out there so that investors or people who are interested in farming can specialize on what Kenchick has done for so long to be able to give us specific layers, 100% laying without adding or without bringing in cocks as breeds also when you want only layers. Thank you.
And there are some of the people who really want to start this poultry farming, but they find it so complicated. What do you think they fear? Where is the problem? Where do you think there is a problem with those people?
I know one challenge with poultry farming is that capital intensive aspect. I know people also fear the issues of diseases because there has been a lot of information out there that chickens can die in a minute without being able to save any. And what I would tell someone who is interested to do poultry farming is that you can start small. Where I am today, I started small. I started with a small number. I think we started with 200 those years. And we were able to learn how to raise them until we were comfortable to grow to where we are today. In terms of the feed cost that I've talked about, we want to get to a point as farmers where we can mix our own poultry feeds without having to worry about the cost of feed. And the reason why I opted to do that is what I learned in Uganda. When you visit Uganda and go to so many shops, you realize that they're doing their own feed, mixing right there in their shops and selling to you direct and telling you, what do you want? You want for cows? They mix for dairy. You want for poultry? They'll mix it right there. I would like us to be in a position as farmers where we can easily find raw materials, we can easily find the contents that you need and mix our feed and run with it and do business just like any other thing you would want to do, as a business. Thank you.
Let's now focus on the structure,
Yes.
building structure.
Actually, structure is most important element in the farming, in poultry farming aspect, because it can determine if chickens will lay or you will have challenges. And the reason why I'm saying it's part of a determinant is because if you build a structure that is so enclosed, that has no free flow of air, you'll realize that the chickens will be congested. They will not be able to even lay to a level that you want. So when we were starting this big structure, what we did was to first reach out to the engineers to be able to get the right, to be able to find the right structure. And the first thing we were told is that make sure that it's free, there's free flow of air across. So if you look at our farm, we've not closed any, we only have wire mesh. We only have, we've built the structure halfway, and the remaining part is only wire mesh. And because the reason why we need wire mesh is because of the free flow of air that the chickens need. So that is very important. So what we also looked, the different design that you will see in our structure is because when we were doing the poultry cages, we had to also design the house to fit the cages and to be able to be clean, because we clean our poultry farm every day in the evening. And we wanted to be able to clean so that, I know you are asking yourself, why is this poultry farm very clean? Cleanliness in a poultry farm should be the key, because if chickens get any infections, if they find any dust, if they are not able to feed on clean feed and clean water, you will easily find infections and they will be having issues every other day. So structure is very important. They also need light. So you find that in some areas we have transparent iron sheets, because the chickens also need that light to be able to, it's part of the egg formation on a daily basis is light. And we give them the natural light of 6 to 6 p.m. and we also extend lights on until 10 p.m. is when we switch off our lights here, which becomes part of the egg formation if you want to have your full cycle and all the chickens laying at the right time.
Does the light intensity affect chicken?
No, there is. I don't think we have much light because there is already iron sheets. Only that we were able to add in the transparent iron sheets to be able to, provide enough lights for them. Because I've said, when you look at the egg formation, they need for an egg to be formed, they need about 16 hours of light. When you read, we've read a lot of books. So 16 hours of light, we normally say the 12 hours of natural light, and we add 4 hours of electricity light at night for them to complete that cycle, so that by the next day you are able to find your eggs, at the right time and not skipping the days. Because when we looked at the number of eggs, and what I've studied so far is that one chicken lays up to 24 eggs in a month. It's not 30 eggs in a 30-day month, but it's 24 eggs in a month, because each egg for it to be laid takes 16 hours, meaning there's an additional hours that you lose until you get 24 eggs in a month. That is what you can get from a chicken.
You have told us about drinking nipples. Could you just give us a demonstration a bit on how this circulates, or how water circulates at this particular building?
Okay, so what happens is that each cage comes with a complete set of the water system. So what you're seeing up here is the containers that are the main now suppliers of water to all the units, or to all the cages. So we have a main tank outside that is raised, now with pipes coming all the way to the inside the farm,
yes,
and supplying water to these containers. That when you look at the entire farm, we have the containers raised in each unit that now supply water to the smaller pipes that has the nipples. So it's a system that is controlled. You'll realize that when you open the containers, these major containers, they have a regulator that when the water is full, it stops. Then once the chickens have consumed it, it keeps adding. It's a continuous system whereby we don't have a start time or a close time. So for water, we don't even regulate or say, this is enough for the day. What happens in feeding chickens is that with the amount of feed they eat, they are supposed to take 3 times water of the meal. So you realize that each chicken eats 120 grams a day of feed, meaning they're supposed to go 3 times of the feed. So water is should be constant. It should be a continuous consumption, because that helps with, everything that the system needs for the chickens.
Unlike feeds.
Unlike feeds, whereby for the 120 grams a day we actually have a feeding time. So we split their meal into 3. We have a 6 a.m. Feeding, we have a 12 p.m. feeding, and the last meal is at 4 p.m. So we break that 120 grams into 3 and just make sure that they have also learned that at 6 we get the meal. If you miss at 6, by 6:20 they are making a lot of noise. So it's something that they're used to. But at the end of the day, we make sure that they eat the enough meal, because another challenge, if you don't feed your chickens a complete meal, they will not lay. They can even stay for 2 or 3 days without laying because they're not getting enough of the meal that they're supposed. So when you go to our store, you'll see that there's a lot of weighing, because I have to know that if this line has 2,000 chickens, I'll do 2,000 chickens times the 120 grams per chicken, then I know how many kgs of meal or feed are supposed to be in this line. So when it comes to feeding time, you'll find every staff coming with their measured feed, because they know this row need 50 kgs, this one need 30 kgs. So it has to be measured, so that you make sure we are feeding enough and not giving one side too much and maybe giving another side less. So it goes with the measurements and weighing of exact number of chickens in each specific rows.
Do you look after these chickens only a day or even at night also?
So we, at least by the time we are switching off lights at 10, because our lights are switched off at 10 p.m., you come and just go around and make sure if there is anything of concern, because the good thing is with chicken is that if there is any alarm, they will raise the alarm by themselves by making a lot of noise, and you will come and check if there is anything wrong in the farm. So when they're silent, that tells you they're safe, and they're quiet, they're safe.
Does the chicken experience the stress?
Yes, sometimes they get stressed. Like if anything comes around here that is unusual for them, sometimes we have cats coming in, and when they see that, they make a lot of noise, and that's stress enough to even stop laying. If also they don't get water, if they feed the whole day without water, that is enough stress for that chicken not to lay. So there are so many things that every day when you come in the chicken farm, I normally keep checking on the nipples, the red nipples, just to make sure that there's no stoppage, or there's nothing that has stopped maybe the water, because sometimes you can have blockages in these pipes where if you're not keen to check the nipples, you'll think that the chickens are getting water, and yet they have stayed for maybe 4 hours without. Yeah, so those are the key things that we do when you come to your chicken farm, just to make sure everything is in order.
Well, as you have heard, the farmer here has said that she usually collects 8,000 eggs per day, and already the process of collection of eggs has already started, as you can see.
So we collect using our trays. So our collection starts from 10 towards like the whole afternoon, because chickens don't lay at the same time. So we'll keep collecting until the last laying, the late ones are around 5 p.m. So generally this is, what happens on a daily basis. It starts with feeding, making sure the water is available, and now starting collecting eggs from 10 going forward is most of the activities that happens on a daily basis in our farm. Maybe just to summarize.
Before that, how many eggs?
So on a daily basis, we collect around 8,000, sometimes it comes to 7,000 pieces a day.
And this accommodates how many
So
eggs?
this carries 30 eggs. One tray accommodates 30 pieces of eggs, yes.
And there is a ready market for the collected eggs like this?
Oh yes, like we don't have a single egg at the moment because all that we had was collected last evening. So we are starting, our customers are waiting now from today so that we can, depends on the order. So we normally just, plan on a daily basis and say, what is your order? Can we deliver in a day or 2 days? So we had customer picked everything for yesterday. We are starting to, collect for another customer today. So that's what we do on a daily basis.
That's an interesting. You say there is no any single egg
we do
at
not
the
have
store,
any today.
and you collected over 8,000
Yes.
eggs yesterday.
Yes.
So that means ready market for it.
Yes, we at least it's not a flooded space as a business at the moment. I think because of the challenges, the many challenges that poultry farmers face, that have kind of, made some stop producing eggs because of some of the things that we've mentioned as part of the challenges that poultry farmers face, especially on the cost of feed. Because when the cost of feed is high and the price of eggs is lower, then especially when you have few eggs, you don't make much profits. And I think what I've told farmers most of the time for us is that we benefit from the economies of scale because of the number of pieces, how many pieces we collect in a day. We are able to break even because of that economies of scale. But for the farmers who are making, or maybe who are having 50 chickens, yes, you will realize that there is no much, the profit is very minimal because of the high cost of feed. So I think as a farmer, sitting down and asking myself, how do I cut cost of production, is first lowering the cost of feed and making your own feed. Then working on the numbers. The more chickens you have, the more it makes a lot of sense with the small maybe profit margin that you get. Because if you're getting a profit margin of 3 shillings in an egg, yes, if you have 50 chickens and you're getting 50 eggs, meaning your profit will be 150 shillings. So what happens if you get more than that, for example? Yeah. So those are some of the calculations as farmers, I think we look into for us to be able to, to go into this business and be able to succeed.
How much per egg?
You get a profit, we're selling 15 shillings an egg. 15 shillings, yes. So a tray goes at, at 450 shillings, a whole tray. Yes.
So how much do you make per day?
We'll say that another time, but that is where we are at the moment. At least we are able to make a profit margin of 3 shillings in an egg. So now it depends on how many eggs you have in a day.
Well, as you have heard, 8,000 eggs are being collected every day. And as you can see, I'm holding the 2 trays which hold 30 eggs. And this is approximately 400. With each egg is 15 shillings. How much money is being achieved at the end of the day after collecting 8,000? Now, Fred Indemoli and Stanley Nyaringita, I believe I have a package for you.
Right. Thank you very much, Colin Spat from Kericho. I hope that you've learned a thing or two about chicken farming and what you need to do. Hata ukiona ile system yako ya kuku pale nyumbani, you've learned how to make sure that you have a number of eggs. We're taking a short break. When we come back, we discuss matters matrimonial property. Silas Akiro, an advocate of the High Court, has joined us this particular morning.